Hey everybody, Linus here. Remember Windows XP, that operating system that brought so much joy and frustration to our lives? It was all the rage back in the day, right? Everyone from casual users to tech enthusiasts loved it. Well, Windows Server 2003 was like its more serious business-oriented sibling. It took the best parts of XP and made them work for the corporate world. Released in 2003, no surprises there. It was designed to run on servers powering the websites, applications and networks businesses relied on. It was a backbone for many digital infrastructures. This wasn't just some operating system for your home computer, it was built to handle the heavy lifting in data centers and corporate environments. Windows Server 2003 was built for stability, security, or so they thought back then, and handling lots of users and data at once. It aimed to be the fortress for your digital assets. It was a big deal for businesses of all sizes, from small startups to large enterprises. Think about all the cool tech that was coming out back then. The early 2000s were a time of rapid technological advancements. The first iPods, MySpace, flip phones. It was a transformative era. Windows Server 2003 was right there in the mix, powering the digital world behind the scenes. It was the unsung hero of the early internet age. It might seem ancient by today's standards, but believe it or not, there are still some companies out there using Windows Server 2003. Why? What makes it so enduring? Well, let's dive in and find out. We'll explore its features, its impact, and why some businesses just can't let go. Now, before Windows Server 2003 hit the scene, there was Windows 2000 Server. It was a solid operating system, don't get me wrong, but 2003 brought some serious improvements to the table. One of the biggest was in the security department. Windows Server 2003 was built with security in mind from the ground up. It had a better firewall, improved user account controls, and made it harder for hackers to exploit vulnerabilities. Performance got a nice boost too. Windows Server 2003 could handle more users, more data, and more applications all at the same time. It was like upgrading from a bicycle to a sports car. And let's not forget about Active Directory. This powerful tool made it easier for IT admins to manage users, computers, and network resources. It was, and still is, a big deal for businesses. Okay, so we know Windows Server 2003 was more secure and faster than its predecessor. It brought significant improvements in performance and reliability, making it a robust choice for businesses. But what about some of those cool new features I mentioned? Let's dive into a few that really stood out. Well, one of the big ones was Net Framework support. This integration was a game changer. This was a big deal for developers because it gave them a powerful new platform for building and running applications. It streamlined the development process and opened up new possibilities. Another handy feature was Shadow Copy. This feature was particularly useful for data management. Picture this. You accidentally delete an important file. Disaster, right? Not with Shadow Copy. It saved the day by keeping versions of your files. This nifty feature kept backup copies of your files so you could easily restore them if something went wrong. It provided peace of mind and added a layer of security. And for all you IDT pros out there, Windows Server 2003 introduced improved group policy management. This was a significant enhancement. This made it even easier to configure and manage settings for users and computers across an entire network. It simplified administrative tasks and improved efficiency. These were just a few of the many new features that made Windows Server 2003 a major upgrade over its predecessor. It truly set a new standard for server operating systems. Now let's fast forward to 2024. Windows Server 2003 is over 2 decades old. You'd think it would be completely obsolete by now, right? Well, not quite. Believe it or not, there are still some businesses out there running Windows Server 2003. Why? Well, sometimes it's just plain old inertia. Upgrading an entire server infrastructure can be a huge hassle, and some businesses haven't gotten around to it yet. In other cases, it's about compatibility. Some older software applications might only run on older operating systems like Windows Server 2003. Upgrading the OS could mean losing access to critical business applications, which is a no-go for many companies. And then there's the cost factor. New server hardware and software licenses can be expensive, and some businesses might not have the budget for a major upgrade. Section 5, the security question, a cause for concern. Okay, so we know there are still some Windows Server 2003 systems out there. Despite being over a decade old, some organizations still rely on them for various reasons. But how secure are they, really? That's the million-dollar question. With technology evolving rapidly, these systems are becoming increasingly vulnerable. The short answer is not very. In fact, they are highly susceptible to attacks. Microsoft officially ended support for Windows Server 2003 back in 2015. This means the system hasn't received any updates for nearly a decade. That means no more security updates, no more patches, no more tech support. Essentially, you're on your own. It's like driving a car with bald tires and hoping for the best. You might think you're saving money, but the risks are enormous. You might get away with it for a while, but eventually something's got to give, and when it does, the consequences can be catastrophic. Hackers love to target outdated operating systems like Windows Server 2003 because they're full of known vulnerabilities. These systems are like open doors to cybercriminals. It's like shooting fish in a barrel for them. They don't even have to try hard to break in. So if you're still running Windows Server 2003 in 2024, security should be your top priority. It's crucial to take immediate action. But what can you do about it? Upgrading to a newer, supported operating system is the best course of action. It might seem daunting, but it's necessary for your security. Section 6, a modern twist, dual booting to the rescue. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to throw out your old Windows Server 2003 machine just yet. There's a neat trick called dual booting that can give your old system a new lease on life. Dual booting is like having two operating systems installed on your computer at the same time. You can choose which one you want to boot into when you start your computer, so you could keep your trusty old Windows Server 2003 installation for running those legacy applications, but you could also install a modern operating system like Windows Server 2022 on a separate partition. This way you get the best of both worlds. You can still access your old software, but you also have a secure, up-to-date operating system for everything else. Section 7. Step into the future and keep the past. Dual booting isn't just about security, though. It's also a great way to dip your toes into the world of modern operating systems without completely abandoning your old system. You can start exploring the new features and capabilities of a modern OS like Windows Server 2022 while still having that safety net of your old familiar Windows Server 2003 installation to fall back on. Think of it like renovating an old house. You're not tearing the whole thing down and starting from scratch. You're keeping the good bones and updating it with modern amenities. It's a win-win. You get increased security, access to new features, and peace of mind knowing you can always go back to your old system if you need to. Section 8, Windows Server 2003, a legacy remembered. So even though Windows Server 2003 might seem like a relic from a bygone era, it still has a place in the world, even in 2024. It's a testament to the quality and longevity of Microsoft's software engineering back in the day. But let's be real, its days are numbered. Security risks are only going to increase, and eventually even the most dedicated holdouts will have to upgrade. But that doesn't mean we have to forget about Windows Server 2003 entirely. It played a crucial role in the evolution of server operating systems, and its legacy lives on in the systems we use today. It's a reminder that even in the fast-paced world of technology, some things just stand the test of time. Section 9, Beyond 2024, what the future holds. So what does the future hold for those still clinging to their Windows Server 2003 systems? Well, the writing's on the wall, folks. As security risks increase and compatibility issues become more common, upgrading will become less of an option and more of a necessity. The good news is that modern server operating systems have come a long way since the days of Windows Server 2003. They're more secure, more powerful, and easier to manage than ever before. Upgrading might seem daunting, but it's an investment in the future of your business. It's about staying ahead of the curve, protecting your valuable data, and ensuring your systems can handle the demands of the modern digital landscape. Section 10, final thoughts still kicking after all these years. Well, there you have it. Windows Server 2003, the little operating system that could. It might be old, but it's not entirely forgotten. It reminds us that technology is constantly evolving and what's cutting edge today might be obsolete tomorrow. But it also shows us that sometimes the old ways still have a few tricks up their sleeves. So, if you're one of the few still running Windows Server 2003 in 2024, know that you're not alone. But it's time to start thinking about the future. Upgrade, stay secure, and keep on computing. And hey, maybe one day we'll look back on Windows Server 2022 with the same nostalgic fondness we have for its ancestor from 2003.